Right, joining me now is the former chairman of the Conservative Party, Sir James Berry, and the Daily Mirror's associate editor, Kevin Maguire. Welcome, chaps. Kevin, I want to talk about immigration and the effect this whole debate is having now on European politics. We saw with Geert Wilders potentially now running the country in the Netherlands. We've seen, Italy go this way. We're seeing authoritarian, far-right populist leaders sprouting up everywhere. And a lot of it is driven at the base of it by concern by populists about immigration. We now see rioting in Ireland over an Algerian actually who become an Irish citizen, but attacking 3 children and a woman in the street. And we saw terrible rioting, but again, driven by this fear of what they believe to be out of control immigration. What do you think of this, and what is the smart way to handle this?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly dangerous because there has been this lurch to the right, to the hard right in Europe, and politicians like Jake will be worried about what happens in the UK, where the level of immigration is over 500,000, was over 750,000. The net figures, which are huge, and I think politicians have a responsibility to be calm and reasoned and measured about it. And also come up with answers, proposals, because what we see, and now I hope Geert Wilders, I think he's got 37 of 150 seats. I hope the other parties do not do a deal with him, and those who finish second and third form a coalition, maybe with other parties, because he is so extreme and has spouted so much poison in the past. Yeah. But look, Europe's going right in part because of migration.
Well, I think it's a large part of it, actually. And the problem with the migration debate in this country is that it seems to me, depending on who you listen to, we need a lot more migrants to come in, but actually we have too many. Right? In other words, it seems to be both, if you believe all the noise that's going around the ether. I thought the best column I read about all this wasn't specifically about migration, but it was a piece by Matthew Paris in the Times about why so many people are coming in from abroad. They're coming, a lot of it, to students, yes, and we're helping out people from Ukraine and Hong Kong and so on. But also a lot of people are filling jobs British people simply don't want to do. Yeah. There are 5 million people in this country who now don't want to turn up and do a day's work. And I'm sorry, a lot of them are skivers, and they are manipulating a system, particularly, it seems, from Matthew Paris's piece, very well sourced, in the area of mental health.
Yeah, so, I mean, this is a challenge across Europe, and I think the other thing we have to accept as politicians is we're in the foothills of the migrant crisis. This is not going to go away. In fact, with things like climate change and insecurity around the world, whether that be in Europe or in the Middle East, it's going to get worse. So politicians need to come up with an answer to this quick, and the answer isn't the hate ideology sort of pushed by people like Geert Wilders and other people on the far right of politics. Since we left the European Union, the government controls most of the levers on legal migration. There's things like the salary cap, which is currently 26,200. I mean, that's far too low. If you want high-skilled immigration, do not set your salary cap below the average UK salary.
How do we get the skivers back to work?
But
because they're clearly gaming the system.
We've got to stop people bringing workers into the country to fill low-skilled jobs at a lower salary than a British person would do it.
Kevin,
so that's a quick way you can do it. You can put that up to 40 grand.
You can,
and you could deal with this very quickly.
That's not the problem I'm talking about, Kevin. The problem I'm talking about is if we could just persuade what looks to me like a work-shy country to get back to work. Obviously, some of them have got legitimate claims to be off sick. But I'm sorry, 5 million people, it's crap.
Yeah, well, you're going to have to tackle long-term sickness, you're going to ill health, disability. If you can't do one job, can you do another job?
Several million are claiming mental health issues, anxiety and so on, right?
Yep.
This has got completely out of control.
I've always believed if you can work, you should work and pay your way. But there you'll have to have a health service that functions, and you will have to have a lot of counsellors who will be dealing with people who at the moment say they have problems going to work. And look, and not everybody with a mental illness is making it up.
No.
And I know just sometimes because you can't see it, you think it's not there. But I'm sorry,
it's several million people basically running to their doctors and getting signed off as mentally ill.
The challenge is, for decades, we have allowed the answer to low-paid work, not to be actually let's invest in productivity and make that job a higher-paid job. Let's bring people into the country to do those jobs. That's why I go back to the point, and you slightly dismissed it, and I'm just going to pick you up on that because I think you're wrong. This idea that you can bring people in to earn 26 grand, it is wrong. It's wrong for the economy.
I don't disagree with that.
And it's wrong for British people.
Don't disagree with that.
Who want those jobs working, things like hospitality, to be proper paid jobs.
I agree.
If you want to get people off the dole, give them a decent job.
No, I actually agree with you about that. But on the students thing, it's complicated. We want to bring the bright students into the country to help our universities who've been struggling financially.
Don't let them bring their families in.
Yeah, but who do you leave out of their families? Can they bring their wife, their kids, both? I mean, these are serious questions.
I think it's direct dependence, close dependence. You can bring in.
But you know what it says to me, Kevin? I don't think the government has thought through any of these policies.
But you know what, students, they come in, they pay more than
it's like
British-born.
7 grand to do a medical
huge amounts of money.
A year.
And then they go around the world, or sometimes they're allowed to stay here, but they go around the world thinking, well, of Britain. It's a great way of extending Britain.
Final question. Is it going to cost them the election, the Conservatives, if they don't get this right, either legal or illegal immigration?
No, I think the economy and the fact that most households will be £1,900 worse off than the last election is what's going to cost them the election.
How big will immigration...
It will be a big issue, and what I'd say is the Labour Party's got no answer. So people, I think, will give the Prime Minister and his team quite a lot of credit for trying to deal with this. The Labour Party's answer is just bring more people in.
Actually, the Labour Party said end the 20% reduction on wages.
Leave it there. Chaps,
You'd agree with Labour.
Thank you both very much.